They call it the happiest place on earth. A kingdom of dreams, where laughter echoes down Main Street and fireworks paint the night sky. But beneath the shimmer of fairy dust lies a truth Disney would rather you never hear. Because even in a world built on fantasy, reality doesn't ask for permission. It was supposed to be a perfect vacation. A family like millions before them, soaking in the magic of Disney World. Smiles, photos, the gentle lull of music in the background. Then silence. A toddler snatched by an alligator near the shores of the Grand Floridian. A moment so quick, so horrifying, it shattered everything. No warning. No second chance. Just heartbreak. That tragedy wasn't a myth. It happened, and it wasn't the only one. Across the parks, from the towering peaks of roller coasters to the slow-turning wheels of family rides, fatal mistakes, mechanical failures, and split-second decisions have rewritten lives. Not often, but enough to remind us magic has limits. Some say these stories are just rumors, whispers that spread online. But they're not. They're real. And in this video, we uncover them. From the dark tunnels of Space Mountain to the riverbanks of Jungle Cruise, from overlooked safety checks to human error hidden beneath layers of corporate polish, we're pulling back the curtain on the accidents Disney doesn't showcase in its brochures. Because fantasy may sell tickets, but truth leaves scars. What happens when the happiest place on earth becomes the last place someone ever sees? These are not tales of imagination. They're moments of silence, panic, sirens, and grief. And yet, behind every tragedy, there's a story that deserves to be told, not to ruin the magic, but to remember the people behind it. This is the hidden history of Disney's deadliest rides. The stories that remind us, even in a kingdom of dreams, danger doesn't disappear. It just hides in plain sight. America's most dangerous park, the wild, reckless legacy of Action Park. Picture a theme park so wildly unsafe it had to invent a fake insurance company just to keep the doors open. That was Action Park in New Jersey, a name that earned a terrifying nickname, Class Action Park. Opening in 1978, this chaotic playground quickly became infamous as the world's most dangerous amusement park. Safety rules? Practically non-existent. Engineers? Probably nowhere in sight. Instead, thrill rides seem built by adrenaline junkies daring fate. Take the Cannonball Loop, a pitch-black water slide ending in a vertical loop that left riders unconscious, teeth knocked out, or stuck mid-ride. So frequent were the rescues, staff had to install a trapdoor just to pull people out. Then there was a Colorado River ride, where rafts slammed into unforgiving concrete walls, and Surf Hill, notorious for flinging riders unpredictably into the air. Broken bones, concussions, near drownings. These were daily hazards, not exceptions. No legitimate insurance company would touch Action Park, so owner Eugene Mulvihill pulled off a stunning scam. He created a fake insurance firm in the Cayman Islands to cover the park himself. It wasn't just risky. It was outright fraud. Despite numerous serious injuries, the ride stayed open. Official reports listed 14 broken bones and 26 head injuries, but staff and medics whispered the real toll was far worse. Before its 1996 shutdown, 6 people had tragically lost their lives. Action Park wasn't just a thrill. It was a nightmare, a haunting example of what happens when greed trumps safety and recklessness rules the day. The drop that took a life. Perilous plunges, deadly oversight. Knott's Berry Farm, known as California's premier theme park, hides a darker side behind its thrills. Since the 1980s, at least 16 serious ride accidents have stained its history. Among the most tragic was a deadly failure on Perilous Plunge, the park's record-breaking water ride launched in 2000, boasting a heart-stopping 115-foot drop. The ride relied on a simple lap bar and seatbelt to hold riders in place. For most, it was enough until it wasn't. In 2001, a 300-pound woman boarded the ride. The seatbelt couldn't buckle around her waist, so she fastened it across her legs. Staff saw this but took no action. As the boat hurtled down that towering drop, she was violently ejected, plunging over 100 feet into the shallow water below. She died instantly. When the boat returned, the restraint was still locked, highlighting a chilling flaw. Neither the ride's design nor the staff's training accounted for all body types safely. After lawsuits and public outrage, Knott's temporarily closed the ride and retrofitted it with new 4-point restraints designed to fit every guest. But for the victim and her family, it was far too late. Perilous Plunge stayed open for years, but the shadow of that fatal drop lingers, a stark reminder that no thrill is worth risking the most basic safety. River Country Tragedy, the water park that hid a deadly secret. It was Disney's first venture into the world of water parks, a rustic, wilderness-themed paradise tucked beside the calm waters of Bay Lake. Opened in 1976, River Country quickly captured the hearts of families, offering slides, lagoons, and old-fashioned summer charm. But beneath the surface of this cheerful retreat, something terrifying was waiting. In 1980, an 11-year-old boy visited River Country for what should have been a day of laughter and splashing fun. He rode the water slides, swam in the artificial lagoon, and dove headfirst into a childhood memory. But just days later, that memory turned into a nightmare. He was dead. The cause? A rare and deadly microorganism known as Naegleria fowleri, a brain-eating amoeba that thrives in warm, fresh water. It entered the boy's nose while swimming and made its way into his brain. Within days, it had destroyed his nervous system from the inside out. River Country's water had been sourced directly from Bay Lake, filtered but not sterilized. And Bay Lake, like many warm bodies of fresh water, was a natural habitat for this invisible killer. But here's where it gets chilling. Disney's response. They didn't shut the park down. They didn't install advanced sterilization systems. They didn't even issue widespread warnings. Instead, they downplayed the incident, stating that such amoebas were naturally occurring in lakes during summer months, and that there was no liability on their part. The park remained open. Rumors of other infections began to spread. Quietly, uneasily, but no official confirmations ever came. The boy's death faded from headlines, but not from the hearts of those who remembered. Then, in 2001, without ceremony or clear explanation, Disney closed River Country indefinitely. No press conference. No formal acknowledgement of the park's haunted past. Just silence, and it never reopened. Today, what remains of River Country is a ghost of itself, abandoned, overgrown, eerily untouched. The structures still stand, weathered by time, swallowed by nature. The laughter is gone, the water drained, and the deadly secret that once lay beneath the surface still lingers in memory. It's a sobering reminder. Even in the most magical places, danger can hide in plain sight. And sometimes what we don't see is the most terrifying of all. Deadly Disney, the tragic alligator attack that shattered the fantasy. It was meant to be a dream, a postcard-perfect family getaway at one of the most enchanting places on Earth. The Grand Floridian Resort, glowing in the golden light of Florida sunset, with its pristine shoreline and lull of nearby laughter, promised nothing but joy. But for the Graves family, that promise would be broken in the most horrifying way imaginable. June 2016. Matt and Melissa Graves sat by the peaceful banks of Bay Lake as their two children, 9-year-old Ella and 2-year-old Lane, played in the sand. No one could have predicted what came next. In a matter of seconds, paradise turned to panic. Without warning, a wild alligator lunged from the lake's edge, clamping its jaws around young Lane and dragging him beneath the water. His parents raced toward the shoreline, screaming desperate, trying to pry him free. But the water swallowed everything, except their grief. The next day, Lane's body was found. Lifeless. The laughter was gone, and so was the illusion of total safety. What followed was almost as chilling as the attack itself. Disney claimed the alligator was part of the natural environment, beyond their control. But what stunned the public was the absence of warning signs. No danger. No, beware of alligators. Nothing. Only after Lane's death did the signs appear. For decades, Disney has curated a flawless image, one of castles and fireworks, not of fatal accidents. But this wasn't the first death linked to the parks. Since Disneyland opened in 1955, at least 55 fatalities have been officially documented. from ride malfunctions to heart attacks, to mysterious causes like brain-eating amoebas. And that number doesn't count what's been left off the record. Some believe the true toll is far higher. But while Disney often frames these incidents as isolated, tragic accidents, families like the Graves know the cost is far more personal. For them, the magic ended with a single moment and a silence no fireworks can ever drown out. Yet millions still visit the parks each year, drawn by nostalgia, wonder, and the promise of happiness. Few stop to wonder what might be lurking just beneath the surface, until it's too late. And just when you think the danger is over, it isn't. Take South Carolina. A Disney-themed ride at a local event ground to a sudden halt, mid-air. Visitors were left dangling, suspended in fear, as staff scrambled to regain control. What began as innocent fun spiraled into chaos. And once again, lives hung in the balance. This is the hidden truth behind the thrills. Because when fantasy fails, reality doesn't wait. The tragic death of Debbie Stone, Disneyland's most haunted incident. She was young, full of promise, and living a dream that millions envied. At just 18 years old, Debbie Stone had landed a summer job at the happiest place on earth. Fresh into college, full of excitement for her future, she was assigned as a hostess for America Sings, a state-of-the-art rotating theater attraction at Disneyland. Her job was simple: welcome guests as they took their seats and bid them farewell as they exited. To Debbie, it was more than a job. It was magic. Just hours before her final shift on July 8th, 1974, she called her parents, beaming with joy. She told them she'd fallen in love and asked for their blessing to get engaged. That would be the last time they ever heard her voice. That evening, as the theater's massive circular walls began to rotate between performances, something went horribly wrong. A blood-curdling scream pierced the air. Guests heard it, but many thought it was just part of the show. After all, in a place built on illusion, how do you tell what's real? But 20 minutes passed. Debbie hadn't returned, and something didn't feel right. When staff finally investigated, they discovered a horrifying scene. Debbie had been crushed between a rotating wall and a stationary part of the theater, caught in a narrow, hidden gap as the stage moved without warning. The cheerful hostess who welcomed guests with a smile had died in one of the most gruesome accidents in the park's history. The incident sent shockwaves through Disneyland. The attraction was immediately shut down, and extensive safety measures were implemented. No longer would hosts be stationed in dangerous areas during transitions. But for Debbie's family, and for those who witnessed the aftermath, no policy could erase the pain. And yet, some say she never truly left. Over the decades, cast members have whispered stories of strange happenings around the old America Sings building. Disembodied voices, flickering lights, even sightings of a young woman in a 1970s hostess uniform standing just beyond the stage. Some believe it's Debbie, forever tied to the place where her life was cut short. To this day, her story haunts Disneyland, not just in memory, but some say in spirit. In a park built to celebrate dreams, Debbie Stone's death remains a chilling reminder of how quickly joy can turn to tragedy, and how even the brightest places can cast the darkest shadows. The slide that should never have existed, Verrückt's Deadly Descent, towering at 168 feet, taller than the Statue of Liberty, Verrückt, craze in German, was supposed to be the ultimate thrill at Kansas City's Schlitterbahn Water Park. This colossal water slide promised heart-pounding speeds as riders plummeted down, soar over a second hill, then plunge into the splash pool below. But behind the adrenaline rush was a disaster waiting to unfold. During early tests, heavy rafts, some over 1,000 pounds, flew off the track. Instead of redesigning, the park installed metal netting to catch airborne riders. Yes, a net was their safety solution. Despite glaring red flags, Schlitterbahn, leveraging its political influence, was allowed to conduct its own safety inspections. Their main guideline? Rafts had to weigh between 400 and 550 pounds. No professional oversight, no extra precautions. Then came the tragedy in 2016. 10-year-old Caleb Schwab rode Verrückt with his family. His raft, within the park's weight limits, hit that second hill, but instead of a safe splashdown, it went airborne and slammed violently into the netting. Caleb was decapitated, Two women with him suffered severe injuries. Investigations uncovered the heartbreaking cause. Kayla weighed only 73 pounds and sat in front, throwing off the raft's balance. Something a proper safety test would have caught immediately. Schlitterbahn's reckless shortcuts and hubris turned a dream summer ride into a family's worst nightmare. Verrückt was torn down, but the scars remain, an unforgettable warning of what happens when ambition outruns safety. Launched to death, when a medieval stunt turned fatal. In the 1990s, Somerset, England, witnessed a wild spectacle like no other, a full-scale human trebuchet built by the Dangerous Sports Club, designed to catapult thrill-seekers through the air like medieval ammunition. Instead of hurling stones at castles, this insane contraption launched people, offering a 40-pound ticket, around $140 today, to those daring enough to soar 100 feet, hoping to land safely on a net. As outrageous as it sounds, crowds flocked to watch and participate, but the danger was all too real. One rider, Stella Young, bounced right off the net, shattering her neck and pelvis. Rather than shutting down, organizers simply made the net bigger and urged launchers to curl into a ball midair to avoid injury. The risk, however, proved deadly. In 2002, 20-year-old university student Kasim Yankov took his turn and missed the net completely. The fall was fatal, sending shockwaves through the community and making national headlines. Only after this tragic death did the human trebuchet finally meet its end. A medieval war machine repurposed as a thrill ride sounds absurd and dangerous, yet it operated legally for years, a haunting reminder that some inventions belong to the past for a reason. Not every thrill is worth chasing, especially when history's weapons become deadly amusement. Tragic monorail collision. The death of Austin Wenenberg at Disney World. It was supposed to be just another quiet night shift for 21-year-old Austin Wenenberg, a dedicated monorail conductor at Walt Disney World. Austin was weeks away from graduating college, full of ambition, and proud to be part of the magic that kept Disney running smoothly, even during the park's silent hours. But in the early morning hours of July 5th, 2009, that magic came to a devastating halt. Austin was piloting Monorail Purple, making one of the final transport runs of the night, helping the last remaining guests reach their hotels around 2 a.m. It was a job he knew well, on a system that had become a signature part of the Disney World experience. The monorail lines, 3 in total, serve as arteries within the vast resort, carrying millions of visitors each year. That same night, another train, Monorail Pink, was supposed to move into a storage area. To do so, it needed to reverse and switch tracks. But a critical error was made. The track switch, controlled remotely, wasn't properly set. As Pink reversed, it wasn't rerouted to the storage bay. Instead, it stayed on the main Epcot line, heading directly toward Austin. Inside the cabin of Monorail Purple, Austin noticed the oncoming lights. 6 passengers were on board, unaware of the danger. He did what he was trained to do. He hit the emergency brakes and tried to reverse the train. But the window of time was too short. The collision was violent. The passengers survived, dazed and shaken. But Austin, trapped in the operator's cab at the point of impact, didn't make it out. He died instantly, his final moments spent trying to protect others. The aftermath was gut-wrenching. Disney, a place synonymous with wonder, was now linked to an accident that could have been prevented. The investigation revealed that a single track-switching error by the control center dispatcher had led to the crash. OSHA launched a probe, ultimately fining Disney $44,000 for serious safety lapses. But for those who knew Austin, no amount of fines could ease the pain of losing a young man who had his whole future ahead of him, a dedicated cast member, a college student, a son. In the world of Disney, where illusion often masks reality, this tragedy forced a painful truth into view. Behind the scenes of magic, there are lives at stake, and when the system fails, the cost can be immeasurable. Space Tragedy, the ride that went too far. It was billed as one of Disney's boldest adventures. A voyage to Mars, powered by cutting-edge simulation and raw G-force intensity. Mission: space promised guests a taste of what astronauts feel beyond Earth's atmosphere. But for some, that taste came at an unimaginable price. Opened in 2003 at Epcot in Walt Disney World, the ride wasn't just immersive, it was extreme. Riders were strapped into a motion simulator inside a spinning centrifuge, designed to mimic the crushing acceleration of a real space launch. The experience was so intense that barf bags weren't just available. They were built into the ride itself. But no one expected what followed. Within the ride's first few years, emergency services were called nearly 200 times. Guests fainted. Others staggered off with chest pain, nausea, and breathing issues. Disney posted warnings. They reminded people to think twice if they had heart problems or were prone to motion sickness. But the thrill was too tempting. And for some, too dangerous. In 2005, that danger turned deadly. A 4-year-old boy, just tall enough to meet the height requirement, boarded Mission Space with his family. What they didn't know was that he had an undiagnosed heart condition. The ride launched. The G-forces hit. And when it was over, he was gone. His life slipped away, right there in the heart of Epcot. Disney wasn't held liable. The warning signs had been clear. But for the boy's family, the pain was unbearable. A vacation meant to inspire wonder had ended in the unimaginable. And the tragedy didn't end there. Just a year later, in 2006, a 49-year-old woman collapsed after riding Mission Space. She died shortly after. Once again, the ride's intensity was implicated. Once again, heartbreak followed. Finally, Disney responded. They introduced a new option, a less intense version of Mission Space, one that removed the centrifuge altogether. No spinning, no crushing pressure, just a simulation, toned down and safer. But the damage was already done. What began as a marvel of theme park engineering had become a case study in the thin line between innovation and risk. Mission Space was supposed to bring dreams of space travel to life. Instead, for some families, it delivered loss. And it raised a chilling question. How far should a thrill ride go before it becomes something far more dangerous? Because in the pursuit of pushing limits, sometimes those limits push back.